The grand hall of the Galactic Council was filled with noise. Laughter echoed from every corner. Alien leaders dressed in golden robes and glowing armor sat in their high chairs and chuckled loudly. A hologram floated above them, the image of Earth. "Look at this little blue ball," one of the council members said, slapping the armrest of his seat. "They call themselves humans and want a seat at our table. How cute." The others laughed louder. They barely left their solar system. A few decades ago, another voice added. The leader of the Growl race, tall and lizard-like, sneered. "Earth is nothing more than a soft planet, weak, full of noise, pollution, and slow progress. Why should we care what they say?" A few chuckled so hard, their translator devices glitched. But among the crowd, one young alien officer remained quiet. His name was Rock. He belonged to the Vetheri, a species known for logic and calculation. Rock didn't laugh. He stared at the Earth hologram with narrowed eyes. "Have we actually studied them?" Rock asked softly. The laughter died down for a moment. The Yagral leader turned and scoffed. "There is nothing to study. They're emotional creatures who barely united their own planet. They worship noise and violence." Rock didn't argue. He only nodded and returned to silence. But deep inside, something didn't sit right with him. Later, in a quieter corridor of the council's chambers, Rock walked beside his mentor, Admiral Grox. "Why do they mock Earth so easily?" Rock asked. Grox smiled. "Because Earth has done nothing yet. No wars, no invasions. They speak of peace, trade, and respect. That's weakness in this galaxy." "But silence doesn't always mean weakness," Rock replied. Grox chuckled. "You think too much, Cadet." But Rock didn't stop thinking. He remembered the reports. Earth had turned away several minor invasions without help. Pirates never returned from Earth's zones. And yet, Earth never asked for revenge or attention. They remained quiet. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Terran Assembly sat in a hidden war room deep under the Pacific Ocean. Around the circular table, leaders of Earth's United Nations sat in silence, watching a screen that showed the Galactic Council laughing. "They think we're weak," said the Terran Admiral. The others nodded. "They sent drones to scan our moon bases last week," a commander added. "We let them leave. They don't even realize what they saw." A woman at the end of the table stood. Her name was Commander Lin. Her eyes were sharp, her voice calm. "They laugh now," she said. "Let them. But we've prepared for years. Our fleet is hidden. Our weapons are cloaked. We don't need to shout. When the time comes, they will hear us loud and clear." The lights dimmed. The screen changed, now showing blueprints of Earth's secret fleet. Hundreds of ships, silent, armed, ready. "They wanted peace," Lin whispered. "We offered peace. But if they want war, ... She didn't finish her sentence. She didn't need to. Back in the Galactic Council, a final vote was called. Shall Earth be allowed to join as a junior member? The speaker announced. The results were instant. 0 votes in favor. All against. The hall erupted in applause and laughter once again. They should stay on their little planet. Someone joked. They're safer there. But far from the council, deep in the blackness of space, something moved. A small human ship, painted black and silent as the void, watched from a distance. Its scanners recorded everything. The laughter, the vote, the words. The pilot sent the data back to Earth with one simple message. They laughed. Back on Earth, Commander Lin read the message. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. She only pressed a button. And hundreds of human ships across space received a silent ping. Stand by. Asterisk. For the first time in months, the Galactic Council went quiet. The joke about Earth had ended. But the memory of their laughter still hung in the air like stale smoke. Every race had mocked the humans. Now, the humans had said nothing. No protests. No angry messages. Not even a whisper. That silence began to worry them. In the far side, the galaxy, on a quiet moon station called Durix 9, a scout team docked. They were returning from Earth's system. The lead officer, a gray-skinned alien named Brock, stormed into the station's command room. His breathing was uneven, his face pale. "What did you see?" asked the station commander. Brock dropped a black chip onto the table. "Everything." A moment later, the room darkened. The hologram turned on. It showed the orbit of Earth, but unlike previous scans, this one was. Different dark shapes moved in low orbit. Huge, silent, covered in strange material the scanner couldn't identify. There were at least 50 of them. One zoomed in. The ship had no name, no signal, no heat signature, but it had guns. Hundreds of them. "What is that?" the commander whispered. Brock stared at the image. "That's not a defense platform. That's a ghost ship." And there were more deep under the oceans. In the asteroids, hidden, watching us. "Did they see you?" Brock nodded slowly. "One of their drones passed right by us. It stared for a second, then vanished." "Did it attack?" "No, that's what scared me." Across the stars, rumors began to spread. Earth had something hidden. Pirates who tried to raid Earth's outer mining stations were never heard from again. Entire crews disappeared. Some left strange final messages. One message simply said, "We thought they were soft." They weren't. In the Galactic Council, Admiral Cern of the Creel Empire stood before the assembly. "We must take action," he growled. "Earth hides something. We ignored it too long. It's time to remind them of their place." The others mumbled in agreement. But Rock, the young cadet, raised a hand. What if Earth was never weak? What if they only acted weak so we wouldn't feel threatened? The hall burst into laughter again, but not as loud as before. Admiral Cern stared at Rock with cold eyes. "They're a child species," Cern said. "We are the stars. They are dust, and dust needs to be swept." The next day, a small Imperial fleet was dispatched toward Earth. 10 ships, lightly armed, meant to send a message. The fleet commander Varnax was confident. He smiled as they entered Earth's system. "They won't fight," he said. "They'll just watch, like always." They were wrong. As the fleet moved closer to Earth, something strange happened. The stars blinked. Not a trick of light. Something massive moved between the ships and the sun. Something black. It didn't show up on scanners. Then another, and another. Soon, the entire Imperial fleet was surrounded by nothingness. No lights, no sounds, just shadows with guns. A voice crackled through the fleet's channel. "This is Terran Command. Turn back." Commander Varnax laughed. "Fire warning shots." But before he could speak again, half his ships exploded. Silent, precise, instant. Only one ship escaped. Varnax's flagship limped away, half broken. Systems failing. As it left the system, a single Terran ship followed behind at a distance. Watching. Back on Earth, Commander Lin stood in front of a screen showing the fleeing ship. "We left one alive. Her second in command," said. Lin nodded. "Let the galaxy talk. We don't need to shout. Our silence is louder than their screams." She turned toward the window. The stars looked calm, but they knew better now. And in the council, 3 days later, the doors burst open. Commander. Varnax fell to his knees, armor cracked, face bloody. They weren't weak," he gasped. "They were waiting." The Galactic Council was silent as Commander Varnax's words echoed in the hall. "They were waiting Whispers filled the chamber. For the first time, the laughter had died. The races that once joked about Earth now looked at each other with nervous eyes. The Creel Empire demanded immediate answers. Earth has violated galactic peace, one shouted. They fired on our fleet. But not everyone agreed. Some called for a meeting with Earth, a formal one. We mocked them, said one elder. They remained silent. Now they've spoken with action. A message was sent. From the Council to Earth. It was short. We request formal contact. Peacefully. Earth replied even shorter. Send one. Just one. No fleets. No guards. No weapons. The Council hesitated. Was this arrogance? Or a trap? After days of debate, they chose an ambassador, Krenos of the Mizari, known for calm words and wise. Thinking, he was respected across the stars. Krenos boarded his light cruiser and traveled toward Earth. No escort. No weapons. Only a single ship with peaceful intent. As he reached Earth's system, something strange happened. His ship's scanners blacked out. No systems worked. No alarms triggered. The cruiser floated powerless, but not falling. Then a voice came through. Smooth, clear, human. We're guiding you. No sudden moves. Krenos didn't speak. He only watched as his cruiser was pulled gently toward orbit, not with force, but with silent precision. Unseen systems took over the ship. The humans didn't show themselves. Not yet. He was taken to a massive human ship, the TSS Dominion, the size of a small moon, completely cloaked from long-range scans. Inside, he was greeted by a woman in a plain black uniform. Her eyes calm but sharp. I'm Commander Lin, she said. Krenos nodded. I come in peace. We know, Lin replied. You're not. The first. Krenos raised an eyebrow. Others came? They didn't leave. Her words were cold, but not threatening. Just honest. Krenos was led through the Dominion. What he saw changed everything. Walls, lined with weapon systems that didn't exist in galactic records. Soldiers trained in silence. They moved like ghosts. Not machines. Humans. Real. Alert. Calm. He passed a hangar where a planet-killer drone hovered silently in place, shaped like a blade, longer than a cruiser. How long have you had all this? He asked. Lin didn't answer. Instead, she led him to a large window that looked down upon Earth. Your council mocked us, she said. Called us weak, soft, primitive. We misjudged, Krenos admitted. She turned to him. No, you judged exactly what we wanted you to see. That hit him harder than any weapon could. Back in the council, the leaders waited for Krenos' return. 2 days later, his ship arrived. He stepped out. Changed. Gone was the calm smile. Now his voice was firm, his eyes alert. They are not who we thought they were, Krenos said. They were always watching. Always building. Every joke we made, they recorded. What do they want? Someone asked. Krenos replied without hesitation. They want nothing. Not war. Not peace. Just respect or silence. But not all council members accepted this. Truth. Some still believed Earth had no right to threaten them. And one of them, Admiral CERN, had already made a fatal decision, even before Krenos had returned. He had sent a second fleet. Larger, armed. And already on its way. Back on the Dominion, Commander Lin stood in silence, watching the stars. One of her officers approached. Another fleet entering Sector 4, he reported. 72 warships, Lin took a breath. They made their choice. She said she didn't call for weapons. She didn't raise an alarm. Instead, she sent one message to Earth's command. Just 3 words. Phase 1 ready. Admiral CERN's fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's system like a wall of steel and pride. 72 ships, heavy cruisers, plasma cannons armed, fighters ready to swarm. The Council hadn't approved this. It didn't matter to CERN. They scared us, he growled. So now we scare them back. But Earth did not respond. No threats, no missiles, no message. That's silence. Again, on board the TSS Dominion, Commander Lin watched the approaching fleet from her command bridge. The ships glowed bright on her screen, full of energy, full of confidence. She leaned forward and said calmly, "Let them enter." Her officers nodded. No panic, no movement. Everything had been prepared long ago. Meanwhile, on Earth, deep inside a massive bunker called Black Core, Earth's top leaders met. The lights were low. Holograms floated in the air, showing the incoming enemy. "They're testing us again," said one general. "They think our silence is weakness," replied another. Commander Lin's voice came through the secured line. "Authorization requested for final protocol. Ghost Net." The room fell silent. The oldest leader, known only as Marshal, slowly stood. He tapped the table once. Approved. Back in space, Admiral CERN smiled as his fleet crossed the boundary. Into Terran space. He stood tall at the center of his flagship. "Broadcast to all ships," he ordered. "Power up weapons. Prepare for display. Let them fear." A chorus of responses came through. "Aye, Admiral." Weapons charged. Targeting systems locked on planetary orbit. Then, in a blink, everything went black. No lights. No data. No communications. Each ship went silent. Floating like a dead rock. Admiral CERN screamed at his officers. What happened? They had no answers. Outside, the stars vanished, blacked. Out by Terran stealth ships. They weren't cloaked. They were beyond detection. Like shadows with teeth. And then came the voice. "You were warned. You mocked. You crossed the line." One by one, Terran warships decloaked around the fleet. Hundreds of them. Not flashy. Not loud. Just there. Waiting. Earth hadn't responded with noise. It had surrounded them in silence. Inside CERN's fleet, panic spread like fire. "We can't move. Shields offline. Systems are frozen." One of his captains shouted, "They're not attacking. They're watching. They're judging." Someone else whispered. CERN opened a channel to Earth. A woman's. Face appeared. "Commander Lin, you came to threaten us," she said. CERN growled. "You'll regret this." Lin's tone never changed. "You came with 72 ships. You will return with one. Choose it now." The screen went black. And then it happened. The Terran fleet moved. No bright flashes. No drawn-out battle. Just precision. Each enemy ship was erased, silently. As if a hand brushed them out of space. Only CERN's flagship remained, left drifting, powerless. In orbit. In the Galactic Council, chaos broke out as reports came in. One message played across the chamber repeatedly. 72 ships entered. One came back. "Do not mock Earth again." Panic spread among the species that once laughed. Emergency meetings were called. Some wanted to surrender. Others begged for peace. A few still whispered war. Young Cadet Rock sat in a dark room, watching the destruction footage on loop. He turned to his superior and said, "They never wanted war. But now, no one will forget them." And on Earth, Commander Lin stood before the window of the Dominion. The stars looked peaceful again. Behind her, an officer said, "The Council is in chaos." Lin didn't smile. She simply replied, "Let them feel what they made us become." The Grand Council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. Now, it was filled with fear. The giant display in the center showed wreckage, dozens of Creel ships reduced to drifting metal and dust. Only one ship had returned, and even that ship was broken. "They didn't fire in warning," whispered a senator. "They didn't speak." Another added, "They didn't need to," said Rock quietly. The gun spoke for them. Inside Earth's flagship, TSS Dominion, Commander Lin sat alone in a dark room. A sleek black box sat on the table before her dot. It looked like a weapon. But it wasn't a weapon in the usual way. This was a voice. A Terran-crafted artifact called the Sonic Marker, a one-time broadcast device that could speak to the entire galaxy, bypassing all encryption, all council controls. Earth had kept it hidden for decades. Lin placed her hand on it. "Send it," she ordered. Her voice was calm, but her message was sharp. Moments later, across every major system, every ship, every outpost, the message played. "We offered peace. You mocked us. We stood silent. You sent warships. Now hear us clearly. This is Earth. This is humanity. Mockery has ended. Guns have spoken." The message ended with a single image. A human soldier standing on the hull of a destroyed Creel ship, weapons slung across his back, eyes calm, looking straight at the viewer. It wasn't a threat. It was a reminder. Panic spread across the galaxy. On Kevel 5, defense satellites turned toward Earth's region. On Drail Station, trade with human allies was suspended until further notice. And on the wealthy world of Teller Prime, civilians begged their leaders to make peace before Earth arrived. But Earth didn't move. It didn't invade. It didn't conquer. It just waited. That silence was worse than any war. In a private chamber of the council, Cadet Rock met secretly with several young diplomats. "We've made a mistake," one said. "Earth was watching the whole time," another whispered. "We treated them like animals," a third admitted. "They were building something while we laughed," Rock added. "They've changed. Or maybe they were always like this." Meanwhile, on a neutral moon called Helos, Earth sent a single person, Envoy Talling, dressed in gray with no weapons, no guards. He stepped into the largest diplomatic hall on the moon. Every major species had a representative seated. Talon placed a small black cube on the table. He pressed it once. A hologram formed. Earth, surrounded by hidden ships. Then Earth again, quiet, green, calm. Then the same message. "We do not want war, but we will not be laughed at again." Talon looked at each of them. "You laughed. We listened. Then we spoke. Through action." Silence. Then he added, "Do not mistake calm for weakness. We don't shout. We don't threaten. We don't need to." He tapped the cube again. A final message appeared. Respect or silence. Talon stood and walked away. No one stopped him. No one could. Back in the council chamber, the oldest member, a creature who had lived for 700 years, stood up slowly. "I was here when Earth first reached the stars," he said. "I laughed too." He looked out across the room. "I'm not laughing now." On Earth, Commander Lin walked along the edge of a Terran shipyard in orbit. Hundreds of dark ships floated, still and patient. New ones were being constructed every hour. Her officer approached. The message was received. Over 90 systems reported silence. Some planets even lowered their weapons. Lin nodded once, then looked out at the stars. "Good," she said. "Let the galaxy understand." She paused. "We never needed war, but we needed to be heard. Now they've listened." Asterisk for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council did not meet in person. Too many feared an attack. Too many feared each other. Instead, a secure holographic meeting was called. Blinking faces from 100 species, each wearing the same look. Fear. Earth had said nothing more. No demands. No declarations. But their silence was louder than ever. Council head Virkin, a massive insectoid being, buzzed nervously. "We need answers," he said. "Earth's warships remain near every major system, yet they do not attack." "They are watching," said a reptilian speaker. "We are under their gaze, and we do not know what they want." Another replied, "They want us to feel helpless." Cadet Rock, attending quietly in the corner, finally stood. "No," he said. "They want us to choose." "Choose what?" Rock's voice was steady. "Respect or war?" The debate lasted for hours. Some leaders begged to open full peace talks. Others said it was too late. One suggested kneeling before Earth publicly, a concept that shocked many. But behind the political chaos, something else was happening. Across the stars, Terran units began to arrive, not as conquerors, but as watchers. On Drexus 4, a planet ruled by the proud Kalari race, a single human dropship landed in the capital. From it stepped 6 soldiers, no weapons drawn. They stood motionless in front of the Kalari High Tower. Locals screamed. The guards aimed, but the humans did nothing. Just stood. Hours passed. The Kalari Prime Minister stepped onto her balcony, looked down, and froze. The human leader looked up, just once, and nodded. The message was clear. "We are not here to destroy. We are here to remind you we could." The Kalari lowered their flags that evening. Quietly. Similar scenes happened across other worlds. On Tellan's moon, a Terran battleship hovered in silent orbit. On Merva Station, a human operative walked calmly through the main port, greeting no one, but everyone felt it. On Zular Prime, crowds gathered and watched as a human drone painted the Earth flag in the sky, without firing a shot. Earth wasn't invading. It was occupying the galaxy's attention. Back at Earth, in the Terran Unified Command Center, Commander Lin received hundreds of reports. Dozens of planets have shut down military programs voluntarily, her intelligence officer said. Half the council members are sending offers of respect or begging for mercy. "Any resistance?" Lin asked. "Only a few. Small worlds, mostly quiet now." She looked up at the display. Thousands of dots, each one a Terran unit, scattered across space like quiet THUNDERCLO. UDS. Meanwhile, inside the council, arguments continued. "We cannot let a primitive race dominate us like this," shouted one general. "They aren't primitive," someone replied. "They are prepared. We are not." Finally, the old insectoid Verkin raised his hand. "We must vote," he said. "Submit to Earth's demand for respect and declare them. Equals," he looked around, "or face whatever silence they bring next." The vote was cast, and for the first time since the council was formed, all hands raised in agreement. That evening, a transmission was sent to Earth from every species. "Together, we acknowledge Earth as a sovereign power. We recognize its strength. We offer peace with honor." There was no reply. For 12 hours, the galaxy waited. Then, finally, Earth responded. One sentence, spoken in a calm female voice, Commander Lin's. "Acknowledged." On hundreds of worlds, the Terran ships began to pull away, slowly, quietly. Didn't stay to celebrate. They didn't wave flags. They just disappeared into the stars. And the galaxy understood. Earth didn't want parades. It wanted respect. And now it had it. Cadet Rock stood at a council balcony that night, looking into the stars. He whispered to himself, "We forced them to speak with guns. They could have crushed us, but instead they showed us control. That's not weakness. That's power." The galaxy was quiet. No ships moved without cause. No council member spoke without weighing every word. And in the silence, one truth settled across the stars like gravity. Earth had arrived, but it didn't conquer. It didn't rule. It simply stood, strong, silent, and undeniable, on the capital world of Valor, The Galactic Council met in person for the first time since the incident. The chamber was rebuilt. The broken banners replaced. But something had changed. A new seat now stood at the high table. Simple, unpainted, unadorned. Upon it was etched a single symbol, a human hand gripping a torch. The seat was empty. Until the doors opened. 2 footsteps echoed through the hall. Commander Lin walked in alone. No army, no guards, no show of power. But every representative stood. She walked to the seat and sat, calmly. Then she looked across the chamber and said, 3 words, "We are listening." That moment became history. In the weeks that followed, new laws were passed, new alliances were formed, and Earth became a name the stars no longer ignored. Young diplomats from other worlds started studying Terran language. Engineers studied Terran weapons with a mix of fear and fascination. Even traders began offering Earth rare materials in exchange for old human tech, things Earth had once thrown away. But the biggest change came quietly. On Unari 3, a once proud war-driven species, known for enslaving weaker planets, sent a full delegation to Earth. They bowed. Not to beg, but to learn. They asked, "How did your kind rise so fast?" Terran Ambassador Talon answered plainly, "You mocked us when we were quiet. You saw us as weak. But we grew in silence. We built behind the curtain. And when we stepped out, we didn't ask. We showed." Elsewhere, on a broadcast viewed across hundreds of systems, a popular alien historian said, "Earth did not speak first. They listened first. Then they answered, in a voice no one could ignore. A voice made of fire and steel, but guided by patience. In the hidden bunkers beneath Earth, construction still continued. New ships, new weapons, not because of fear, but because humanity never wanted to be underestimated again. In a quiet mountain cabin on Earth, Commander Lin stood alone at the edge of a cliff, watching the stars. Her second-in-command joined her. "It's over," he said. "The Council respects us now. The threat has passed." Lin didn't nod. She just stared upward. "No, it's not over. This is just the beginning." He tilted his head. "Beginning of what?" She smiled softly, the first time in a long time. "The beginning of a galaxy where Earth doesn't whisper anymore." Across the stars, a new voice rose. Not loud, not cruel, but strong. Humanity's voice. And it spoke a truth that no one would ever forget again. We are here. We are prepared. And we will never be mocked again.